Alright class, now today we're going to be learning how to state the domain and range of a function. Okay? And as you may know, the domain refers to as the x values, right? Joe, put your phone up.
Yes, sir.
I see it again, I'm taking it up. Whereas the range goes with the y values.
So what is the domain?
The x.
Okay.
X refers to as the horizontal line right here.
Horizontal.
Versus y goes with the vertical. Now, like we've been doing all week, we'll be working and looking at functions on a graph. Now, I'm going to point a function here for y'all. I'm going to go through the steps on how to find out the domain and range. Now, with domain, you look at the leftmost point to the rightmost point to see where it starts and finishes at. Now, looking at a point, if it's a closed circle, you start off with a bracket. If it's an open circle, it's regular parentheses. See, so whenever you look at that, it's a closed circle, which would start off as a what?
Bracket.
Right. And being where it is, it's already lined up on the x-axis, where it's at -2, comma, going to the right. Even though it's going up, it's going right sidely, and with the fact that it's an arrow, means it's continuous, going on and on, which we call infinity.
An arrow indicates infinity.
Yes, it can be positive or negative infinity. Just depends on where your function is and which way it's pointing. Now with the range, you go from bottom to top. It's the lowest point to the highest point. As you can see, wherever your dot is, you line it up with the vertical line and see which point it matches up with. And if any point is lined up on the x-axis, it'll be a 0 because it matches up in the middle. So, and with the fact that it's a closed dot, it will be a bracket, correct?
Bracket.
Alright. And you look, it goes to 0. You bracket 0, comma, and the function is going to the right. Even though it's going to the right, you can see it's barely going up little by little. And as we said, if it's an arrow, it's continuous. So what would that be? Going up and continuous.
A positive infinity.
Right. And that's a regular one with only one function. Let me show y'all one with a different. Now, as we said before, with domain, you look at the leftmost point to the rightmost point, correct?
Okay.
Okay. As you can see, yeah, it's going up, but you can barely see that it's tilting to the left on, and it's continuous, which would be an infinity, but since it's going to the left, that's where the negatives are, so it would be a negative infinity. And as you may or might not know, parentheses always go with infinity no matter what. You never put a bracket with an infinity.
Okay.
And you've already did to the left, so you go to the right and see where the next arrow is pointing at. It looks like it's going down, but as it is up here, it's going to the right a little bit. And since it's going to the right, that's where the positives are, so what would that be?
A positive infinity.
Correct. Okay.
And closes with parentheses as well.
Because there's no bracket that goes with it.
Okay.
And now, you look at the range going from what?
Negative to positive.
Bottom to top, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You see, it's just going straight down. And if it's going straight down, well, what does that tell you?
It's a negative.
Negative what?
Infinity.
And if it's going straight up on the other side, what does that mean?
That'd be a positive on positive infinity?
Right. Getting this down, Mr. Joe.
We're learning it.
Now, this will be a different one because it occurs with two functions. This one might see it a little different, but it's all not that much complicated. Except for when you go with domain, you still look at the left to the rightmost point, correct?
It always
Even-
starts at the left side, on the
Yes.
negative side.
No matter what. Even though it has a dot, you keep going. You pretty much imagine this is one line, and you see where the arrow is going. So, this is going to the left slightly with an arrow, so it would be a negative infinity, correct?
You're right, with the arrow.
Yes.
Negative infinity.
And you don't stop here, and you don't stop here. You keep going all the way to the right. So it's going up with an arrow, so what does that tell you?
Positive infinity.
Yes.
But you don't add this point there at your,
What are you talking about?
at your stoppages, a negative infinity to a positive 1 or negative 1. That's
Oh
two-
wow, I
That's
see.
two different functions.
My bad. You see, you corrected me there. That's my fault. Thank you, Joe.
Well, it's a negative infinity to,
I got outsmarted by a 40-year-old person. Okay, it's correct. You were right. It goes from negative infinity and stops at negative 1, right? Because you line it up with a horizontal line for the first function.
okay, negative 1.
Then once you're, okay, and if it's a closed circle, it happens to be a
A
bracket.
bracket. Right.
And then when you're working with two functions, in between the two parentheses or brackets, whatever you want to call it, you put a U, which stands for union, the union sign.
Okay.
And you start at this one
At the next function.
going right. So it starts when you line that up. What does that line up to?
A positive 1.
Yes. And since it's an open circle, you start off with a regular parentheses. Parentheses 1. And going to the right,
Positive infinity.
yes. Closing off with a regular parentheses. Now the range, like we said, it goes from just bottom to top. So you look at it and it goes from
A negative infinity
negative infinity,
to a
Stop.
positive 1.
right? And what would it be? A bracket or parentheses?
That's a parenthesis.
No, it's
That's
close.
Close, okay. So it's
So-
a bracket.
Right. And you have to put a union sign again because you're working with two functions.
Okay.
And you look at this going up. So where's that start at line?
Positive 2,
Right. And it's an open circle. So what is that?
parentheses.
Right. And it's going slightly up. So what does that tell you?
Positive
an arrow.
infinity.
Right. Well, class, I see y'all all done a pretty good job, with the exception of Mr. Joe here taking out his phones. But that's all we have for today.
Thank you.
Screwed up, Mom. My bad.
You turned off yet?